The committee in the Senate that handles these matters is the Judiciary Committee. And Utah Senator Mike Lee is a member of that committee. He's my guest now from the Hill. And Senator, thank you for your time on what is no doubt a significant day for your committee and the country. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
Will you hold a hearing for Judge Merrick Garland?
No. Look, we've been clear. All the Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee have made clear that this is a lifetime appointment to the highest court in the land, to fill a seat previously filled by a judicial icon, Antonin Scalia. We think that the American people need a chance to weigh in on this issue, on who will fill that seat. They'll have that chance this November, and they ought to have that chance.
So you will reject his nomination, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know Merrick Garland?
I don't. I know a few things about him. I know that he's regarded as a progressive, fairly liberal judge. But, that really isn't the point here. The point here it doesn't have nearly as much to do with who the president nominated. It has entirely to do with the fact that we're in a presidential election year, and it's been since 1888 that a Senate controlled by a party different than the party occupying the White House has confirmed a vacancy to the Supreme Court that arose during a presidential election year.
Judge Anna Napolitano tells me 30 minutes ago that this judge has a record over 19 years of being a center-right judge and not a liberal judge in that respect. Does that change your calculation?
No. Look, I've said repeatedly, I don't care if they put my brother on there. I don't care if they put Paul Clement or some other conservative icon like that. This is about the principle that we're facing. This is about the fact that we're coming up on a presidential election year. This is about the fact that using the historical standards for how much time it takes to confirm a Supreme Court nominee, the earliest we could get someone confirmed anyway would be May, after the Supreme Court's finished hearing its arguments for the year, which means the first arguments that they'd hear on the merits would be in October, literally just weeks before the presidential election.
Have you spoken with Mitch McConnell? Have you spoken to Chuck Grassley, the committee chair?
Well, I've spoken to all the members of the Judiciary Committee. I've also spoken to Mitch McConnell about our plan, and we're sticking to our plan that we outlined a few weeks ago.
Do you know what was discussed in the Oval Office 2 weeks ago when McConnell and Grassley went to meet with the president?
I'm not certain what was discussed there. I had a brief conversation with Senator McConnell about it afterwards. But I believe Senator McConnell communicated yet again the message that we've communicated over and over again in recent weeks.
Does your position of no, and if the committee continues along that line, what is the impact, Senator, on the chances of half a dozen Republican senators up for re-election in November? What does it do to their campaigns, do you believe?
Well, what I've heard from most of those so far, perhaps all of them, is that they understand the need to do this, and they're standing with us. They understand it's not an easy thing to do, but sometimes this job isn't about being easy. Sometimes this job is about standing behind what we believe is the right thing to do.
The White House is referred often to Justice Kennedy in the late 1980s when President Ronald Reagan was in the final year of his term. What is excluded often from that conversation, Senator, is the bruising battle with Robert Bork, the battle that followed after that. So you had a period of 9 months before you settled on a new justice. And I'm just wondering how you countered their argument that Reagan went forward, why not go forward now?
Yeah, there are some important distinctions there. Number one, this was a vacancy that arose not during a presidential election year, but roughly a year and a half before that presidential election. It arose in the summer of 1987, and the only reason that Justice Kennedy wasn't finally confirmed until the beginning of 1998, after he had been nominated in 1987, was because there had been this protracted, bruising confirmation battle that you referred to with Judge Robert Bork. Then after that, you had Judge Doug Ginsburg, who was initially nominated, then whose name was withdrawn. So Justice Kennedy was the third one nominated for that position. He was confirmed at the beginning of 1988, but again, this was not a vacancy that occurred during a presidential election year.
One final point here. Just the headline from our discussion here is that you will reject his nomination. So then the follow-up question is that, have you spoken, and when was the last time you have spoken with the majority of Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, sir?
It was a matter of days ago, and as far as I know, everybody's still there.
So their position did not change as of a few days prior.
That's right.
Senator, thank you. Mike Lee's a Republican from Utah. Appreciate your time today. Thank you, sir.